Tenable Network Security, creators of Nessus, the world's best vulnerability scanner. Jumpstart your security program today and evaluate Security Center CV, the continuous monitoring solution. For more information, visit them on the web at tenable.com. ProXPN is the leading VPN service offering free accounts, excellent premium features, and an outstanding commitment to privacy and security online. Use the discount code WEEKLY and save 50% off for life. NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with a proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email them at contact@netsparker.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Security Weekly. This is our security news for this week. I want to talk about some cool stories, actually. Disappearing messages added to the Signal app. I love Signal. I think Signal is great. Moxie Marlinspike, who's actually been on the show before, and Open Whisper Systems do a great job. And this disappearing messages is like Snapchat, except they actually disappear. Because it's Open Whisper Systems. Because it's Open Whisper Systems, that's the case. I just love this app more and more every day.
Yep.
I think it's great. Everyone should use it. My concern with Signal is that like more people, even in security, like don't like. Felt like I was kind of late to adopting it, and when I suggest that other people adopt it, it seems like a slow adoption rate. It's kind of a knock on Apple for me because you can't change your default SMS app, but I can do that in Android, which makes it a much better user experience, which is very strange to say in that realm. But I love Signal. I love the work that they're doing. I think it speaks volumes for privacy. So
yeah, I mean, I think any app that allows you these kind of communications that is really disappearing, because that's the thing about Snapchat is you think it's gone, but it's not gone, and then you run for president, and and all this stuff happens. But I mean, I like the app. I think it's a really nice app, and I would prefer it, but again, it's the Apple limitation on it that's been the problem. And I mean, that's been the case with Apple, I think, since they started, was always they had that attitude of you're either Apple or you're against us.
But why doesn't Apple adopt, or Google even, adopt similar technology while they're leaving it to third parties to provide the secure messaging? Isn't that something everyone needs and wants?
Well, I was wondering if maybe it's encryption, and they're resting their laurels on the fact that it's encrypted, and therefore it's okay because it's secure in that manner. But we found that wasn't the case when that whole stuff happened several months ago on the West Coast. And so maybe this burning thing, this the Signal thing, I think maybe is the next iteration of what I mean. You can even download Burner for both Google and iPhone now, and so you can get your own private phone number for separate things, and then when it's done, you burn it. Done.
Oh, I like that app too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know why you guys need that, but I'm not gonna ask.
Well, we're in education, Paul.
Oh boy. So IoT devices are proxies for cybercrime. Now I want to preface this with attackers have always used proxies in this technique to basically hide themselves and proxy. So they basically break into stuff, use it as a proxy, and sell that proxy to do illicit cybercrime, essentially, right? Which makes sense. However, there was a researcher, so this is a Brian Krebs article, and Brian Krebs, protecting his source in this article, said he was talking to a researcher who was looking into this and said, the researcher he was interviewing said, in this way, it feels like 1995 with computers. He said, devices are getting online, antivirus wasn't prevalent, and people didn't know the average person's computer could be enslaved to do something else. The difference now is the number of vendors and devices has proliferated even, and there's an underground ecosystem with expertise to fuzz exploit and custom write software. Plus, what one person does can easily be shared with a small group or the whole world. Now, what's interesting is the parallel that this researcher makes that Brian Krebs was using as a source. I have a slide from 3+ years ago that I talk about embedded device security before there was such a thing as IoT, with a picture of Prince, and said it was hacking like it's 1999. This is the last time I'm going to say I told you so, because I feel like an ass for keep saying it, but like I told you so.
Yeah.
Like I went back and last week we talked about me taking my like 3 or 4 year old presentation about like why embedded device security is important and why attackers can use it. and like just change it up, and I could deliver it today, and people would actually listen to that message solely because there was the world's largest DDoS attack that was using IoT devices. Not just the one that was using IoT devices.
Right.
It was the world's largest DDoS attack, period. It happened to use IoT devices. Now all of a sudden everyone's talking about it in the press. It's something that, speaking to Kevin's question, right, from writing the book on WRT54G routers, I looked at firmware, I started looking at the security of those devices and started giving those talks. I'm like, this is really bad. Like most of these devices have weak passwords or backdoor passwords and all of these security issues. And a couple of years ago, Bruce Schneier is quoted as saying, this is a huge problem. Things are going to get worse before they get better. Well, look what happened. Things got worse, right?
Yep.
There was this, like, websites can be taken down at will now from compromising the weak security in these devices. And Michael, as you know, this is something we've talked about on the show a lot. And now, I mean, basically we're in a position to have the big I told you so. And again, okay, that was the last time I'm going to say I told you so.
Right.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, that'd be a mistake, right? I mean, like, the thing is, just because it's something that we've been through, or we can point to the proxy and go, oh, look, you guys didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to me is a shitty excuse for I didn't communicate effectively.
Right.
You know, like, we've got to knock that crap off. But here's the thing. I keep looking at this, and I'm trying to figure out, is there a tipping point in this, or when does somebody start saying, whoa, we got to do something about it? And is it just that it's really not that big a deal yet? Or is it that saner voices haven't yet explained this in a way that somebody else goes, oh, that's what you guys are talking about. Okay, let's do it that way. Like, I can't get my head wrapped around what the actual problem is. I know what the symptoms are. I'm not lost on that. But deeper, like, what's the
Michael,
problem?
I think these IoT devices are obviously they're consumer based, right? Imagine trying to
No, not so much so.
You're getting put in the enterprise left and right.
Well, okay, all right. So let's go with that. But a lot, like, so for instance, I just went out and I bought the Philips Hue kit, right, which is the smart light bulbs, so on and so forth. And you set up through a wireless bridge, and it plugs into your router and all that. Right. And so that becomes a point of security concern, right? So does that mean that I could have a hacker, potentially pretend like they're my light bulb in my 50 light bulb kit, and then all of a sudden that becomes a point of entry, right? And a breaking point.
If you have 50 Philips Hue light bulbs,
I don't have 50.
I have some serious disposable income.
I have
dude.
4.
You got to give me like your business plan, how you made all your money.
2 irises and then the light strip.
Do you have the Bloom?
Yeah, I actually just bought it last night.
I love the Bloom.
Yeah. So anyway,
you're one of the few people I talk to that has the Bloom.
Yeah, and
the
the
Bloom
iris,
is awesome.
But
I'm a professor. We light my house with candles.
I was going to say, Doug, I'm feeling like we need to yell, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
You kids!
Yeah.
My Bloom changes color for the season. It's awesome.
I don't have kids. Oh, I said that. No, I'm just kidding. So I have a little bit of money to spend, and I do the philanthropy.
I have kids. I make them work to pay for my device.
I pay tuition.
Yeah. But I mean, and so if we look at it from a consumer grade, how do you teach a consumer the difference between WPA2, personal and enterprise and web and all these types of things when they don't even know what those acronyms mean? And to some extent,
well,
security.
So this is where I agree with you 100%. But this is also where, as an industry, it's unconscionable that we're still trying to explain passwords to people. And here's what I found, right? This is Security Awareness Month. Doug and I already had an epic discussion about that, and I mean that with all respect. I thought it was a good discussion. So here's the thing. I still see people suggest that you need to have an upper, a lower, a symbol, a number, the blood of a young child, and it can't be, it has to be at least 8 characters. Right. And they're just blindly explaining that. Right. So no, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think then the answer is we have to start asking people, like, we say benign things like, do you want security? Well, yeah, who doesn't? That's like saying, do you want to have a car accident? No. Okay, do you want security? Yes. But that doesn't mean anything to people. So if we don't help them understand A versus B in a language or a thing, right? It's called the Wasson selection test. If we use stuff that they understand and are familiar with, they'll ace it every time. But you're right. We use jargon that, by the way, go to the average security person and say, what's the difference between any of those things you just listed out? They have no clue.
No. I have two. There's 2 pieces of it. I have 2 pieces of it. One I call the sitcom effect. So there has to be a sitcom plot that involves a piece of security, and then everybody will get it. So some comic thing happens to your favorite sitcom
Seinfeld
character,
effect.
and they get hacked, and and then all of a sudden everybody's interested. And the other one is a more
Seinfeld's a great example of that.
Yeah,
'cause they
exactly.
had problems that people identified with.
Right.
Well,
And-
I want to hear Doug's other point. I want to go back.
And the other one is liability. So until
Yeah.
insurers and underwriters start holding people responsible for security, no one will look at it, because that's when they start looking at it, because they look at it as a fiduciary harm, even if it's a homeowner, and they say, well...
No, that's exactly right. And so here's the good news, right? On the insurance side, we're watching the insurance companies come into it, and they're getting burned now because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
They're going to learn fast and faster than anybody else. And I've been begging for this for a decade. I think it's great. And I prefer insurance over regulation any day of the week. Let's go back to the sitcom effect, though. If you don't understand how sitcoms work, here's the first thing. It's a team of writers. And it's normally no less than 5, and sometimes it's 10 to 15 different writers.
Yep.
And for them to get that one minute bit done, that might take a week of effort. So think about that. 5 to 10 people spending a week on a 1 minute bit.
Yep.
Well, no freaking wonder people get it and it makes sense.
Right.
When have we done that?
Yeah,
No, we don't.
every word is carefully plotted out. But what I like the progression here is, and what I'd like to see is, I think consumers right now, today, as a kind of side effect, are being more aware of security of their devices they're putting in their home. We've seen
Yes.
surveys that people don't want to adopt this new technology. They don't want the Samsung smart refrigerator because, in fact, people have said, I'm afraid of the security implications. Now,
Well, right now, they also don't want the Note 7, right?
yeah, well, that too.
Only if they're
That's a great
camping.
point. Yeah. So, but what that progression means is, what if now I have a smart things home and I have smart locks? If my insurance company says, yeah, you know what? You've got smart locks and smart things, and they're on our list of like non-secure vendors, so that means you pay more in your home insurance.
Yep.
Now my purchasing decisions are greatly influenced. What that's going to do is it's going to force the vendors to then make more secure
That's
products
exactly
and
right.
come up to
Yeah,
a standard.
and
We've
you know
already
what
seen
else is
Cyber
happening
UL
now,
is
too?
kind of
The
just starting to get
insurance
formed to
company-
create these standards for
Exactly right.
security of these devices. So
And-
I
and
don't
then-
care if it comes from, I think it's going to take both, right? You're going to have to see the government get involved. You're going to have some regulations like UL, and you're going to have to see if from the bottom up, and consumers progress through, I like the insurance thing, progress through insurance, and to essentially make the world a better place.
And here's what's going to start to happen now, too. And please, we can do this without regulation if we're smart about it. Because the regulation, it's never going to help us. It's just going to create hiding places for people. But when the insurance company starts explaining to you that if you take these certain actions, you're increasing your risk, therefore your premium is going to go up, somebody's going to go, wait, I don't understand. And the insurance company is going to get that question so many freaking times. You're going to go, okay, we're going to break this down for you. And they're going to go through the sitcom effect. And they're going to go get a team of people. Yep. And with any luck whatsoever, they're going to get people like us, and they're going to explain it. And the way people get it, and they go, oh, well, why don't y'all just say that? And then they're going to start asking these consumer brand products. Well, okay, so wait, yours is $10 more. Does that make it more secure? And they're going to start asking that question. And as they start asking those questions and they start figuring it out, then all of a sudden, from a marketing perspective, wait, people are asking security questions? I've got to explain this in a way that they understand that I'm better. And yeah, they'll do a bunch of bullshit. It's kind of like the people who still say, well, we use SSL, so you're safe. What? What the hell are you talking about? But we'll get past that. We will have to. And yes, that'll get forward. So, we can get there.
But there is some regulation that helps, and I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff either. But if you look at a parallel in like buildings, if you go back to say my era, the 30s or the 20s, and you go back,
I think it was like mud. Bricks.
Yeah, they had so many fires and all these horrible
from
things.
The Indians.
Yeah, exactly. We learned it, but they had all these fires and things because they had no building codes at all, and people went in and untrained people went in and did wiring, and they just strung it all together, and then it burst into flames, and everybody died, and we said, oh well, life's hard, get over it.
Bad, yeah.
And then, as they started passing building codes and standards, those kinds of regulations did start to push things into a safer direction and say, you really do need to be responsible and use, fuses and stop putting, 50p coins in the fuse box kind of stuff. and that did help to some degree. I mean, you can definitely overregulate and get crazy and pass ridiculous.
Here's what I always look at, right? When we built the interstate highway system, I think they did it on one page. If not, I've got it wrong. It was 4 pages. But if you look at the way we try to do it today, it's 2,000 pages. So I think you've given good examples, and I think there are situations where some guidance and some regulations make sense, but then we always want everything to be federal right off the bat. I'd like to see people who've got it done in a local setting, show us that it works, show us how it scales, and then you'll get me as somebody who will support it. But my goodness gracious, I'd get freaked out about it. But no, I think we have an opportunity, and it goes back, Paul, what we talk about in startup all the time is, if you're a startup today, you're in the security business. You can say, no, I'm about making cats happier or whatever. Good, you're in the security business. Everybody today, every company has some level to it.
Well, it's interesting. My stories for tomorrow's Startup Security Weekly, to give that a plug, are 2 stories from 2 different sources about security for startups. Now, they're pretty focused on the IT aspect of security. For startups, but that's okay. I think they're lessons learned, so make sure you tune in tomorrow. I think we're going to stream it live on YouTube and Facebook tomorrow.
Good. So be there.
Tomorrow, yeah, we are tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
You need this.
Yes. I do want to mention, going back to 1999, the Cisco broadband routers contain a flaw that allow attackers to disrupt connections by constantly pinging the router with Telnet and SSH requests. I'll just let that settle, because that's really sad, because it truly is like 1999 called and wants their exploits back. On a different note, I love this story, how hackers plant false flags to hide their real identities. This is a very interesting story. I want to. This may be controversial. Attackers are pretty smart. I mean, not all attackers, but I think
good ones are.
I think that we, as security people, sometimes underestimate the attackers, and I think we look at certain indicators and go, "Oh, well, those attackers are stupid." And don't get me wrong. Let's put this into a police setting, right? Like, there are some freaking dumb criminals out there, right? We've all seen the articles on the internet about dumb criminals. Don't get me wrong.
Forgot to load the shotgun.
Or stole the car,
Dumb, like bank robbers typically, they get caught at a pretty high, I don't know what the percentage is.
But there's Lex Luthors too.
But there's yes, exactly. And that's what this article is speaking to, is like, there's these attackers that are like, you know what? We're going to use the certificate that was included with Stuxnet. And you know what? Security people are going to think we're so dumb, but really that's just like smoke and mirrors to what they're really doing. And I think a lot of us need to kind of take a step back and think about what we're seeing and say, well, maybe that's really not a dumb attacker. Maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe it's a really smart attacker that's trying to deceive us with their methods.
I think it's a standard technique, really, to me. I mean, when I used to do attacks on systems, I would always leave false flags for them to spot, because then I could burn them. I mean, these were legitimate, white hat things, but I would always leave, like, if I'm going to go in there, I'm going to create some really bizarre name for an account that I want to use later that looks like something good, but I'm going to go up there and put another one that says, "Bite me." And, and all the people would jump on that account, and they would go,
B-Y-T-E.
Bite me. It's bite me. We got to stop Bite me. And they're going to work and work and work to stop Bite me from getting into the systems. And while they're out doing that,
trusted SSH
X07Y7AAA kernel, sys dot something is sitting there logging into the system, and they're going, "What's that?" And I don't know. It's some of the kernel. Just leave it alone. Don't mess with that. But let's Bite me.
Yeah.
Bite me's up here after us, And I mean, that's a standard kind of tactic. I mean, it even goes back to just like standard penetration of running a denial of service against a site while you're trying to break in through another mechanism.
It's a bait and switch.
Yep. Yeah, or even just running a denial of service while you're trying to physically break in. I mean, if I was going to pick your locks and get in the server room, I need you all focused on something so I can walk in there with my janitor's uniform and drop my
It's like the standard Hollywood plot thing where they inevitably say in every action and sci-fi movie, we need a diversion.
Yeah, exactly. It is like that. And I mean, it's a really smart thing to do.
Oh, God. What is the latest Star Trek movie? Beyond? Star Trek Beyond?
Yes.
Yeah. That's There was,
but
that was in there. We needed diversion.
But I mean, you think about how
we needed
often,
diversion is like, oh, now our like AI team and graphics team can.
But just think about how often you get focused on somebody who's attacking you. I get it all the time. I spot somebody and I fall for it. I'm sitting there going, hey, look at this little bastard. I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to attack him back. I'm going to, oh, look there, he's got a port open. And meanwhile, the guy's coming in through 5 other ports, to get in, and I'm distracted. So I think that's a very smart attacker move.
Well, there's another thing too, right? Attackers. I mean, I've looked at this a lot, and we're quick to denounce, oh, that's just script kiddies. And I've always said to them, but if you're a really sophisticated attacker, and some basic script would let you A, get the job done, and B, let somebody else think it was a script kiddie, why wouldn't you do that?
Yes, you're absolutely
You're lazy, right? And so, we always forget that. We seem to think that because you've got some massive amount of skills, that must mean you're going to code everything by hand, real time, in front of the keyboard.
No,
that's not going to work that way.
Whatever works. I mean, that's military doctrine number 1. Whatever works. I mean, if a hand grenade will do the job, why bother to invent a nuclear weapon?
Frag out. Let's go.
Yeah, it's just like, here's a hand grenade.
We're talking like we know what happened in this next story is. I can't even begin. So the title of the article is "Nuclear Power Plant Was Disrupted by a Cyber Attack." So in the article, when you're in, don't read it. Don't click the link. just listen for a minute. So in this article, we don't know who the attacker was or who the victim was. We don't know when the attack happened. We don't know how, and we don't know what was affected. All we know was that a nuclear power plant was disrupted in a generic scenario. It's an awesome article, and it says a lot of stuff without saying anything.
Yeah.
Other than what the title says. In fact, you can read the title of the article and get 100% of the content. And for that, this article is awesome.
Well, I used to work at a secret government lab, and we had a lot of nuclear stuff there. And what I know about it is that disrupting it is not that big of a deal, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to play it down, but I mean, the term disrupted could mean many, many, many things.
Absolutely.
Everything from up to it issued a warning and they had to write a report because, I mean, if a mouse walked across the floor, they had to write a report, to it scrammed, which means the fuel rods drop, or the damper rods
exploded.
No. Scramming means the control rods drop into the core. So they have these cadmium rods and they drop into the core, and that happens. And basically, what the cadmium does is it soaks up all the neutrons and it shuts down the reaction. So. And that can happen for all many, many different reasons, but that's sort of the fail-safe on a reactor, because it means that, we got disrupted. So if something starts going awry,
it's like the don't Chernobyl.
It's the don't Chernobyl move.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Really awesome article on JTAG. I mean, this person spent a lot of time in this article. It explains the history of JTAG, why it exists, the specifications, and practical examples and usage. Awesome article. This one you want to go read. The other one, don't go read. I also have one on, we're not going to beat cybercrime in our lifetime. So just reading the title, I'm like, yeah, job security, our lifetime. This is great. I don't have to worry about ever being like, hey, we solved this cyber thing, and I'm going to go be, I don't know, martial arts instructor or something else. I'm going to go roll cigars for a living. I
was gonna squeegee windshields because
there you go.
I don't have Paul's skill.
You got to get the outdoors. I get it. We've been cooped up in
stand
offices.
on the corner.
Yeah. But then there's this quote. It says, "Our inability to manage is going to result in failure, and it's not just failure for your company or for you. It's failure for future generations. The only way to fix it is with," and this is where it comes in, Michael. He says, "The only way to fix security is with the right people executing the right plans and demonstrating leadership." I think that comment and that comment alone, Michael has a wet spot in his shorts.
Touchdown!
I mean, that just confirmed everything that you've been saying for the past 10 years or 15 years, Michael. Long time.
Yeah, I mean, look, but let's also go back, because what I think is interesting is that Sean Henry's got a career in the FBI and a stellar career in the FBI. How many times do we look at these types of things and say, do people still rob banks? Yes. Do cars still crash? Yes. Do bad things still happen? Yes. So are we going to defeat cybercrime in our lifetime? No. Ever? No.
No.
But then what I agree with is to say, right, so what do we need to do about it? Like, can we let it run rampant? No, we've got to get on top of it. It's going to take leadership. And this is where people always ask me, they say, so you just work with security leaders? No, absolutely I work with security leaders who find, right, here's my gut check question. Are you valued for your leadership as much as for your technical expertise? And the overwhelming answer, when people are honest with themselves, is I'm the security guy with a team or girl. I'm the security person.
Look at how excited he is. Look at. No, I think it really, for me, it like reaffirmed everything you've been. Not that you need. I needed reassurance, but it reaffirmed everything you've been saying, Michael. And I thought it was interesting that in this light, in this article, I stumbled across this.
If they keep watching Startup, one of the things we talk about is the leadership mindset, because you've got to be a leader to run a startup. And if you want that type of mentality in your business, you need to do the same thing. And there's a big distinction between saying the phrase leadership and blocking and tackling in a way that actually represents a leader. Mm-hmm. And we cover that.
But I will say that all of this, and I agree completely with everything you guys have said, it's never going to be fixed. I mean, we've not ever, people still get their purses snatched.
Right.
That's been happening since some cave person walked out of the cave with a bag made out of skin and some other cave person ran off with it. So that's never going to happen. We can do it better.
Was that when you were little?
Yeah, I was a teenager.
They didn't have language.
But I can't win here, but the point is,
I still think you're as old as Jack because you don't have the beard. So
I'm gonna get one. It's the maturation of the industry, just like in the tech industry. We saw the same thing in the tech industry. It was a lack of leadership. It was all about tech skills. Nobody knew what was going on. It was just this frosted glass down in the basement, and it evolved. And business.
No, you're right, Doug. Look at the CIO today. The successful CIOs today, they understand business. They're respected in the C-suite. They're enabling business. They still understand tech, but they have transformed, and we're going to see the same thing in security.
And the CSO just started getting a seat at the table.
Yes.
I mean, go back 5 years. People went, "What the hell's a CSO?"
Exactly.
And they're like, "Oh, is that one of those nerd guys down in the basement that's watching, reading comic books and eating pizza?" And now today, the CSO is sitting at the board table, and in a few more years, the CSO is going to be the respected part of that team as well.
Absolutely.
So it does evolve and it matures, and we start to learn the models.
And there's one more point on this too, because I see a lot of people sometimes when we talk about this, they go, "Well, so you're saying I don't matter in security?" No, you matter. What you do is important, and what we do is important. It's going to continue to be important. What we're saying is, what we've got to recalibrate is that this isn't a zero-sum game. This is what drives me nuts. This isn't. It's what I call an infinite game. The only way we measure is, are we better today than we were yesterday?
Yes.
And the way that, from a leadership perspective, then, is you just say, are the people around me going to be better tomorrow because of their time with me today? If you can answer that yes, and they're better tomorrow, then congratulations, you're operating as a leader, and that's all we can do with security. We're going to keep ratcheting the bar up, but please don't calibrate on nothing bad will ever happen. Stop. It will. It's a question of how fast you detect it, how appropriately you do respond to it, how resilient is your organization.
Yep.
There's a lot more better standards, and this whole fascination with breaches is going to subside. We just don't know better yet.
All right. So do you guys want the funny story first, or do you want the encouraging? You want the funny story first?
Yeah, and on an encouraging note.
IoT malware has apparently reached almost all countries. This is speaking to the IoT malware, and that's not even the funny part. You guys are laughing already. This is great. I guess I am kind of a funny person. My wife doesn't think I'm very funny. But so IoT malware has reached all these countries, and this is speaking to the Mirai code that was released, the source code was released. It was the DDoS that took down Krebs that we've been talking about. So when they say almost all countries, it hasn't reached Greenland.
Really?
So if you are one of the approximately 56,000 people, because I had to look this up, 56,000 people that make up the population of Greenland, props to you, Greenland.
You are safe, Greenland.
For securing your IoT, or
maybe you don't have it.
Maybe you haven't. Maybe you don't have it. Maybe
they don't sell Bloom in Greenland.
But here's the thing. Greenland, maybe because their internet connection is approximately 1 to 2 megabits up or down, or worse, attackers have completely ignored you, Greenland, because you don't contribute anything to the distributed zone. It takes way too long to get packets there and get packets back from Greenland.
And all the code is written in Icelandic.
Yeah. That's true. So it's Norwegian.
Greenlandish.
Greenland. No, there's no. I told you it was going to be a geography lesson.
They said your GPA didn't matter.
Greenland, population of around 56,000.
Yeah.
Terrible internet connection. If you learned nothing else from this episode, you learned something about Greenland. And they are not part of the DDoS botnet. And I think truly it's because their internet connection's too slow.
We're all moving there soon.
I think it's funny. We should all move there.
I'm just going to VPN through Greenland, and we're good.
You haven't been doing that? It's kind of slow, but I've been doing it.
Now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Greenland looks pretty big on the map. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
There's nothing there, though. There's just one
ice.
little
It's
part
just
of it.
ice.
It's like, here's this tiny little strip of this giant thing. It's like, this is where people live.
This part isn't covered in ice. The rest is
frozen. Here you die.
There be dragons.
Yeah,
Just one of the reasons why I love doing the show is I get to research. Call it my job to research
funny
these
things.
esoteric things, like what is the population and average internet connectivity in Greenland.
Now you know. It can be told.
I looked at the map for the botnet, and Greenland had no dots on it. I'm like, this is an anomaly. It must be research.
What is the cost in megabits per second for
Probably
internet
pretty high.
connection?
Yeah,
that's what I would think too.
Yeah. See, now
I used to have a map of the
we
world.
share the same nerd brain?
Yeah, we
like,
share.
that's
Nerd brain. Yep.
You
That's
got
a nerd
Siri
question.
there. Why have you not asked Siri yet? Hell, Siri's already listening.
Hey Siri,
What's going to answer?
What's the cost per megabyte, per megabytes per second of internet connection in Greenland?
My Siri just downloaded a bunch of Icelandic porn.
She
But
doesn't.
it's going
She doesn't
really
know.
slow.
Siri doesn't even know.
It's all in black and white.
But I bet you she could beatbox. Yeah. Cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots. No.
And if I told Siri that she should be my girlfriend, she would have some witty response.
She
and
would.
that is useful. But trying to get a useless statistic about Greenland out of her, not so
She
much.
can't do.
Greenlandish discrimination. It's just not fair.
There's a whole Wikipedia page about Greenland.
I know there is.
If you're bored one day,
There's a whole bunch of Greenland people coming after me right now.
That's right. You can go. Does anyone listen from Greenland? I wonder.
If you're out there,
If
please.
you're out there, like if we have listeners in
we
Greenland,
respect everyone.
Well, if you're using Google Analytics, we can look through the map to see.
we can look through the map.
Yeah, we
I'm
see
gonna
how
look
many
and see
people
if
from Greenland are tuned in.
downloaded this podcast. I don't know.
Buffering.
There's probably one or two. I have to
Episode 1 is still buffering.
like the stats page lists all the countries, and it's there's 500 results. Like I have to go all the way to the end. I have to click the arrow that goes all the way to the end of the results for those countries that have 3 downloads. I'll see if it's in there.
I think you definitely need to look at that.
Greenland.
Yeah.
It's green.
All I could think of was the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, when I think he was talking about the cell phone hack and the Kabir worm. I remember Josh writes him in his video, and he's going, Finland.
Yeah.
Fucking Finland. All I could think of was Greenland. Fucking Greenland.
Fucking, yeah. I like it.
Attackers ignore it.
You should have a whole
'Cause
episode focused on
Their
Greenland.
internet is too slow.
I'm going to go look up the national anthem.
That is the title for this episode. It's just Greenland! Exclamation point.
That's right.
That's right.
The securest
Name of
place
the
in
episode, Greenland.
Greenland.
We want to hear from you if you're listening to the show.
Oh my
Greenland.
God! Greenland's national anthem is It's Nunnarupt Put Utaquap Grovat, and that was not lag. I can't pronounce that.
All I know
That
is
actually means I want some more lube and finish.
Well,
if
look
we're
behind
playing
Paul, you got all you
Trivial
want.
Pursuit, when people used to play board games before they had smartphones and the internet, we would be awesome at Greenland. If there's a question about Greenland, I think we might be able to answer it right now.
Trivial Pursuit adds the Greenland pie piece. We'll be the people that clear that category.
What is the population of Greenland? 56,000. I got it. Yes!
I never got the
win.
sports piece, but Greenland,
Yes! I got it. Oh my God, we're having too much fun. Talking about Greenland. Did you ever think on this podcast?
No.
Well, no.
I didn't
what
come
about
over here
clowns?
tonight thinking about that.
Are we going to talk about clowns tonight?
No, we're not going to talk
Oh,
about clowns.
man.
No, we're not going to talk about it. It's interesting. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about clowns. I love Halloween. I love Halloween decorations.
Same.
And some of my neighbors have, Keith was describing to me, the Martha Stewart Halloween, and nothing wrong with that. Like, it looks really nice. I'm kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Halloween decorations. I've got a tree with all body parts on it, and the only comments I've gotten on social media is, "Well, as long as you don't have any clowns." And I'm like, dude, I've had like creepy clowns in my Halloween decorations for years. Like, my kids have literally been with me at the Halloween store going, "Dad, that's a cool creepy clown. We should get that." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. We should get that. We should get the creepy clown." And I have said the joke last week that the clown that I have is hilarious and just shouts insults at you the whole time. And one of the insults
so it's like my class.
You guys didn't hear this, but one of the clown's insult that makes me laugh every time. And he goes, "When you came out, the doctor slapped everyone."
Wow.
See, clowns are funny. That is my point.
That was kind of the original purpose. Yeah.
That is the end of this episode. I want to thank Doug, Russell, Michael,
Peace,
Josh, and Scott for appearing on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Our one listener in Greenland. Thank you, Greenland.
And
Greenland
clowns.
Power.
And clowns.
And clowns.
And clowns.
Over and out.